the link. Good morning, Senator.
Morning, Bree, Chris, Jason, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Thanks for joining us. Wow. So, was there something that happened with a bill of yours?
With the what? I'm sorry?
There was a
Something
bill of
that-
yours that something had happened. I think it was a bill with you and the Vice Speaker, Tina Munya Barnes. There was something about the war claims, and there was an amendment that had been erroneously inserted into the bill that went over to. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about it, sure. I think it was late at night, and I kind of stayed up trying to figuring out what happened.
So I guess just your reaction, as you are a co-author of the measure in question.
Yes. So, well, yesterday the speaker introduced 217, and how we're moving forward with correcting this is 217 is identical to the original bill that was submitted on 130 that had a public hearing. So when you introduce the same bill in session, we can bypass the public hearing for this bill because we already had it. So the 217 is just like the brand new, without anything in it, without any amendments put in there. So we're going to go back Monday and start discussing this bill once again. So a few things can happen. We'll have to, if they want to do the amendments like they did before, it would start all over again.
Yeah.
Then we had to take the votes, and then we had to engross the bill, and we see how it goes from there. But an amendment would also have to be included to rescind the public law that we're trying to correct the error now. So it took some time and discussion just to get that far. And Monday, we'll be back in session to figure this out. But it's open for discussion once again. We'll see what amendments, who votes this time to do what, things could have changed. If all your, I like to refer to this session as the schoolroom and with my classmates. If all my classmates aren't there, my colleagues, the voting dynamics may be different.
Yeah.
The time has changed also since the public law has come into play, and opinions may differ. So I'm not sure how the votes would be. But definitely we're going to address the issue that needs some clarification. And I'm wondering how that would look. But at the end, still, but this bill, hopefully, 217 will get passed and up to the governor for signature. But what it still does is that it's requiring the governor within 30 days to come up with an implementation plan. From there, it comes back to the legislature, and we have 30 days to review it. We got to get back into session, and we could either say we like it, like adopt it, or amend it, or reject it, and come up with our own plan. So it's still not over yet. The next step, of course, is discussing 217 on Monday.
I wanted to ask, what are your comments and your reaction to your Republican colleagues who walked out, because I noticed you didn't join them?
All right. Yeah. Well, as a sponsor on the bill, I wanted to hear the information I think was important to figure out what was the situation, and I needed to stay. You know, my colleagues, my fellow Republicans, decided it wasn't right that this information was being shared just amongst the senators with the cameras and the recording off. I was able to ask questions to legal. We had clarifications from clerk, and I think it was also put out the sequential order of when this amendment started and the time frame and how it went about and when the error was discovered and why it happened. The ramifications of that, well, we had to deal with it as a senator. How do I correct it, right? Whether we're going to point fingers or figure out what we're going to do with the staffing, I leave that up to the management, and I can understand the mistakes have happened, and as well as myself for not really identifying and going over it correctly. So I learned my lesson there as well. as a co-sponsor on the bill. So I'm to blame also, and I understand that. But still, now my colleagues have come back to the table after further discussion with the speaker and the majority who's in charge of the session there, and have agreed to come back Monday to discuss 217. And we'll see if we come back to the table, if we're going to go have the clerks and maybe the attorney, the legal counsel be present. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing that on Monday or not, but it would take a vote at that time, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
If the votes aren't there, then we're just moving forward. If the votes are there, maybe we'll have another meeting with them and possibly be open. But at this point, I'm not sure.
So did you agree with your Republican colleagues that this whole discussion that happened behind the closed doors should have been open to the public?
No, I stayed in, right? And I didn't walk out. I can see my colleagues' point of view, and I appreciate it. But I also agree with a legal, if they're going to represent the body as a whole, then they need to have some confidentiality with their clients. I submitted a letter saying I waive my client privilege rights. I'm willing to do that. I can keep it in open. But, they represent the entire body, just not myself. So it would have taken everybody to do the same. And,
would it have? I think you can tell us as just a sitting senator, you can just say, hey, yeah, I waived the privilege. Here's what was said. I don't think there's anything stopping you.
Yeah, it was all out in the air. I'm listening to all the different radio programs. KUM, of course, most important. Thank you. and everything that's being shared is what was shared inside. There's nothing. There's nothing left out, especially that sequential order that was provided. That information is pretty detailed, and we can see where we need to make some changes, especially just taking our time really to correct it. So I didn't see any difference than what was already released out in the public and what I'm reading in the media and hearing in the media as well. So that information is open as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you for that. That's good to know. So yeah, the speaker had on Friday, I believe, released a timeline of the chain of events that led to this error, and that was released on Friday, right?
Was it Friday?
Yeah, I think she said yesterday that they released it on Friday, Senator?
Yes. The last time we were sitting down all together there, or the time before, yes, it was Friday.
Right, and so you're basically our inside man, and we had the speaker on yesterday, and she said, this is what happened, these are the facts, and you're kind of agreeing with that and validating that, yeah, that's what was said behind closed doors. Got it, thank you.
Right. And what they want to do, that's up to them. That's up to their leadership. It's like a management of an office, right? If the employee somehow needed corrective action, let the manager figure out what corrective action is going to be taken, not necessarily 15 senators to figure this out, And in the meantime, I think the public is really concerned. So what are you going to do about it, Senator? So what's going to happen? And that's why the Bill 217 was introduced, and we get back there Monday. And we'll see what amendments are added to this. The major important one to correct it will be the amendment to rescind the current law, and then we'll move it forward.
Why 5 days though?
Well, that was a decision as the group, right? That was a compromise. But when you go into session floor, my feeling is you follow Mason's rules of order, right? And if the senators want to call it an emergency meeting or address the bill right then today, to put it on the agenda, so be it, right? We already had the public hearing, especially for this one, but we're kind of following what a recent bill that became law, saying the public still needs to have notice, 5-day notice, so they're aware, and if they want to tune in or if they want to call their senator because the bill is on the floor and being discussed, they have that opportunity to review it. We're kind of using what all the other boards and commissions have to do as well. It's different though when you're in session hall. You can have an emergency session and you're not going to wait 5 days. You can have a special session, you're not going to wait 5 days, right? There's some timelines. I think we got a couple of days that we had to follow to post it. But this can all be done based on what our rules are during session and following Mason's rules there. But again, it goes back to the majority of the body, and the decision was made, so that's why we're coming back on Monday.
Let me ask you this, though. If Speaker Terlahi reintroduced the amendment in question, the amendment, the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The amendment. If
Line
it was
3, page 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if that amendment was reintroduced, now that you guys have had a couple days to kind of stick your finger in the air and see what the people are saying about it, right? Do you think that it would fare differently, or do you think that it would still be ruled, what was it, materially different?
Right. I'm sure we'll still have the objection, and then it will be up to the chairman. If we'll probably be at committee as a whole. And that call will be up to the chairman, or somebody on the floor can also say objection to it. And if it's deemed materially different because it wasn't part of in the public hearing as well, if the votes are there to not make it go through, then that's what's going to happen. If the votes are there to make it go through, it could also happen as well. The person making the amendment could ask for reconsideration or to overrule the chairman, the committee chair. And again, the votes are needed. And so it's important every time you sit in session during the month, who's present, who's not present, right? How do the votes count? Just like in a classroom at school, right? And who's in your class today? So it's going to come down to that. And on the floor, if somebody could always change their vote because they got some new insight. I'm sticking with what the original bill was about. And if the changes need to be made, I'm not saying it's not important and it can't be done, but I think that needs a separate bill altogether, and we address it at public hearing too. I want to just stick with the original as it was introduced in 1:30 and move it forward. But we'll see what happens on session day, and especially I hope we start on time.
Okay. What was going on yesterday? There was a long recess, right? And Bree and I were watching, and it was like, man, I think it was just you and Senator Mary in the session hall for, God, it was like a couple hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was quite long. I had to recharge my phone. That's when I knew
that's
it's
how
long.
It was, huh?
Yeah. Like phone's dying. Wow. So that's where the discussion has to come in to try to get. We need a quorum. So talk was going back and forth, and the majority with the minority, and trying to work out a compromise so that we can get a quorum. And it took some time. And then the bill was introduced, so that was being written up as well. And who was going to introduce it, that was questionable on which senator would introduce the bill, until finally it was the speaker that did introduce the bill, and it was acceptable to the minority. So we came out from behind closed doors, and we had enough for a quorum once again. And that's when we finally the speaker was able to hit the gavel and start session, and quickly there recess until Monday. That was the agreement that was made in order for us to get a quorum.
Is there anything else that needs to be added into Bill 217 other than the amendment to rescind the law with the legislative mistake?
Right. There was another amendment also included in the current public law, where a committee was formed to review these claims that are going to come in. Yeah. So if that's going to happen once again, it would need to be another amendment made to 217, and we'll see if the votes are included if that's going to be added into the bill. There was a couple of, I think, a date correction too, and some technical things that legal identified that could be adjusted there too, as well. So there were two major amendments: the one that was the flaw, and then the other one adding in a committee to review the possible claims that will be coming in.
Do you foresee it taking a long time? Like a lot of debate on this?
Yeah, sometimes we're dealing with my bills. It's like, this shouldn't be too controversial, but you don't know until you get on session floor how everybody is and who's in your class that day and who has something to just talk about that day. So that's the dynamics of our session with the different senators representing their ideas on the floor and trying to get their point across. Some say it faster, some say it slower, and some just keep on saying it. So it makes interesting conversation for each bill. So I'm hoping it won't take long. We understand our situation. Do we need to give all this discussion about it? I wouldn't. I would just move forward and make those amendments if necessary. And if there's a vote in, let's do it. And if not, let's move on. We maybe want to make sure if we need to, let's say, not just everybody raise their hand, but to say I want a roll call to ensure that we got the correct vote from that senator, just in case it moves so fast, right? Sometimes we raise our hand and it's dropped before the clerk kind of sees it or the speaker sees it, or we need somebody to call it again, right? Or you can just do a roll call so it's clear. Say your yay or say your nay. So we shall see. We shall see.
I noticed that you put your support behind Bill 214, the bill that Senator Amanda Shelton is the main sponsor of regarding the $25 million matching fund for the governor's LEAP program. But I also noticed that there were some other Republicans who introduced another form of that bill, but it's 37, I believe, million. Do you also support that bill, or are you going to keep your support with 214?
Well, yeah. So the let me see, the employee compensation basically, right, for these businesses got together and talked about the need to help the small businesses with additional funds, right? So the governor came on out and said, well, I can help with dedicating 25 million. And the idea was that the senators supported as well. And so we said, sure, another 25 million. But then it comes out to 50, right? But the original request was much higher. And I think the separate bill that was introduced, I believe, by Senator Frank Bloss, it kind of compensates for that. So the bills need to make it to session floor, and you need to have the public hearing. And the quicker we do that, the better. The majority is in control, and you put it into committee. It's up to the majority, right? Or how the bill is written as well. So right now, of course, I'm supporting. I was a co-sponsor with Senator Shelton on her bill, which I think will be very helpful. If that passes, let's get it to the floor. Likewise, if there's more money to come and made available with Senator Frank Bloss's bill, I can't see why not supporting that too, to help our small businesses, because after all, we need them to hire, and that creates the taxes from corporate business and the BBT and the employee tax, and that's what's going to make us survive. And giving people jobs now is instead of since PUA is done. So I got to see how this plays out. Which bill is going to get a first public hearing? Which bill is going to get to session floor first? And which can we take a decision on? So you just never know. You just never know.
Did you see that interview that Nestor did with Lester? It was Nestor with Lester.
Yeah.
Lester Carlson, and it was he was asking the timeless question, where is the plan? Yeah, and Lester got all bent out of shape, and he was like, well, didn't she help the poor people? What's your problem? Why you guys want to know everything? Oh, God. And he basically said that when they spend the money, that's the plan. But he's pretty defensive about it. What did you make of that interview and that response?
Yeah, I've had a couple of rounds with Lester also, and that's where, if you call out Lester, he's there to to make you stand down, right? But I'm not going to let up. We, the people of Guam, the legislature who represents the people of Guam, want that plan. And if it's a tentative plan, then show us your tentative plan. And if you're not, for whatever reason, I don't get it, right? The legislature gave you our plan, Governor, and you said, hey, this looks great. It's kind of in line with what I'm thinking about. So, thank you. All right, so where's your plan? So we can work together. I'm not going to give it to you. And I'm going to say it in many words as possible. I'm going to blame it on the department, the Treasury Department, because they're still reviewing it, and I don't want to dedicate anything. I'm going to blame it on, we're still developing things, and as things come around, we're adding to our plan. We want to make sure our plan is perfect before we release it to you. Well, it's not going to be perfect unless the legislature has the opportunity to at least review it. If you want the legislature's support, then you need us to help us understand. So we either can back you, or we can say, as the people's voice, I think you should adjust A, B, or C. But if we can't see that, well, that's an attitude problem. And I think that needs an attitude check, You want to kind of hardball the co-equal branch of government, right? And try to talk down to us and try to say, hey, this is my pot of money, and I don't care what you have to say. I totally disagree, and I think I'm going to fight back even harder. And I'll enjoy it. I'll do it with a smile and nothing personal, but we can fight just as hard back, because we deserve that information if we're going to share with the people of Guam. And I think what the media is doing and pushing for that as well, it's very helpful. We're not going to let up, and until that happens, it's not good. It's not good for attitude. It's not good for this administration. And if you want to get reelected, you better have some transparency. And that's what's going to help. If your plan's not perfect, that's fine. I think everybody could understand that. And if you want to improve it, you got to talk to us about it. But if you don't, and you want to say, okay, I'm finally releasing my perfect plan, I don't think so, right? And I've seen the mistakes already happen with this administration, and it continues to happen. I'm just waiting for the next blunder once again, but we don't want that to happen. We want the best for the administration, and in order to get that, you need the legislature's support for the administration, and we can't do that without sharing of information, and that's why we really need this plan. I'm not saying that the projection of their plan or what they have done so far is not good, but if we want the vision of the island of where we're going to be and how we're going to improve this as we get through the pandemic, then share with us close to $600 million what you plan to do. All right, so we can share with you how we can work together. And it's not going to be because I called the governor and say, hey, Gov, when's you going to release your plan? And she's going to tell me the same thing she's telling everybody else. Or she'll send Lester Carlson after me again, which I don't mind. I have a beer with that guy every now and then, and he's good to talk with. But that's not what I would do. And it's unfortunate we're in this situation, and I wish we weren't. And I'm still going to be asking, Governor, give us your plan. Tentative is better than waiting till it's too late. And here's the plan, because I already spent all the money. Here's where it was spent.
But
gee, thanks a lot.
But it doesn't seem like, you guys are going to get one anytime soon. So in the alternative, has anybody asked, so what have you spent the money on? Because we were going through the numbers. And it looks like she spent and obligated up to $427.7 million. I mean, when you take out the 300 for the hospital, right? The 20 million for GVB, 25 for LEAP, 27.3 for GITA, 30 for All Rise, 15 for GPA, 674 for the homeless shelter, 50,000 for bereavement, isolation facility, 678,000, and quarantine 11 million. Which leaves about 172.2.
And that's including the, what is it, 300 mil for the hospital?
Yeah, for the hospital, yes.
Okay. Yeah, Senator, so, according to Mama Bree, there's a lot of money been obligated or spent already. And so you guys passed the budget law, and then so they're supposed to start reporting what they spend in November. Is that correct?
Yep. I haven't seen it, really. And so what can you do? We're not going to hold the governor in contempt for not following the law, right? She's the leader of this group, supposed to do what the People's House said you're supposed to do. But if they don't, there's nothing you can really do with the power of the governor. But we can still raise our voice. And there's still more money out there. And what I'm doing is introducing other measures too.
Yeah.
You know, the governor has this money, and she could subsidize different areas where the shortfalls are within the government to keep these critical services going. That's fine. We also have the Consolidated Revenue and Expenditure Report released that's showing at the end of September, we have $62 million above our projected amount that we're ending the fiscal year with, right? And from that, some of our senators during the public hearing on the budget bill included that 20 million goes for tax refunds.
Right.
There was another one for the 25 million going for the employee, the small businesses, right, that one. So there's still 17 million there, and I just introduced 218, Bill 218. We have a problem with the Guam Customs has a big problem trying to take care of this drug epidemic on the island. We recently passed Bill 58, it became public law, to extend this property and PD given by the Port Authority to Customs so they can build their sterilization container warehouse that would address the problems of invasive species, cargo coming in, illegal cargo coming in, and most importantly, to house a scanning machine where these trailers all can go through and we can scan for these drug issues, right? We know it's coming in. We're just not seeing it all because we just don't have the equipment or the facility to do this. So we got a bad problem with that. And we're supporting the customs to say, okay, you got this property extended, that's great. Now you got to build the facility and you're short cash, right? And the governor even agreed to get this building going when she passed the law to extend the property requirements before, so they can build it another 5 more years. So the governor supports it. Now we're addressing the money needs, and I'm asking in the bill $15 million in order for them to get the architect and engineering design done and start the progress, right? And we're giving them to 2023 in the bill to say you better get something going. Here's the funds, and if you don't, that funds is going to go back to the general fund for other necessities. And the customs are saying we're behind you on this, and we want it to get going. So while the governor is not telling us how she's going to spend these ARP funds, right, and spending it on her own free will, like you're going into Ross and you don't have it as shopping list, and before you know it, you leave with a whole cart full of stuff you didn't necessarily need. I'm still trying to identify where other funds are available before the governor does the same thing on that and takes away the opportunity for senators to address what they think is a critical needs based on what we're seeing and hearing from the people of Guam. If we don't fix this drug epidemic, no matter how good, if we get through this COVID situation, we're going to have, we're just going to have some sick people here, and we don't have enough facilities to really help them. So let's stop it at the border, let's protect the border, and let's get the customs what they need. And it's funny, the governor can do this today if she wanted by transfer authority, but as long as I make some noise here, she may do that just on her own, or she may do it because somebody told her, did you hear Senator Moylan's Bill 218, and this is what he wants to do. Oh, okay, let's just do this on our own. I don't care, right? Just do something. And at least we're pointing this out. The people of Guam have pointed it out. That the newspaper is just flooded with all these issues about drug problems, people beating up all their families. It's so much stress. And the price of this, the drug, right, meth, is so cheap on Guam because the abundancy is there. I wouldn't say cheap, but the price compared to other places you get a bargain here because we have so much on our streets, and that should not be. And one of the biggest places coming in is the Port Authority, and I'm hoping I can push 218 through while the governor figures out what the heck she wants to do with the ARP money. But at least we can have a voice on the CRER cash that the BBMR, my good friend Lester, is saying, hey, that money's available. We don't have to wait for the audit. I'm pretty secure on this close to $63 million. And let's get going to help the island of Guam. So that's the best I can do. If the governor doesn't want to release her plan, I'm going to introduce measures to say here's where we should spend the money, and I hope my colleagues will back me up on that.
All right, so you're going to power check Lester over the plan. Got it. run it top
No,
story.
yeah, but just
I got
just
your
the
back,
big,
don't
'cause
worry.
he's a big guy, you know. He's a big guy.
But is he big for nothing or just big?
Well, he's interesting. He's an
Is he?
interesting character.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do an arm wrestle. Arm wrestle. That would be interesting too, right?
Right, yeah.
For a beer.
Right.
Right on. Okay, Senator. Well, thanks for coming on. Good talk here.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. Happy
Thanks,
Halloween.
Happy
Right on.
Halloween.
Yep. There you go.
Stay safe.
Happy Halloween. Looks like we're getting more tricks than treats. Let's take a quick break, and we're coming back with our COVID consultant, Dr. Hoa Wen, next, right here on The Link. Good morning.